Welcome everybody. My name is Greg McDonald. I'm the Director for Systems Engineering here at Dell Technologies. And I'm really excited to do a presentation for you today. Our presentation topic is going to be called Unlocking the Value of Data with Artificial Intelligence, and let's get stuck into it. Today's agenda is going to cover 4 key points for us. The first key point is about the impact of artificial intelligence, show you some good examples about pathology and cancer, how machine learning and artificial intelligence is making a real difference in that area. We'll cover the keys to success, what's required by organizations in terms of this artificial intelligence journey, and what's needed in terms of the technology stack. And we'll focus on some clever areas Dell Technologies is working on to provide innovation as well as innovation in action. And let's get started with the first point. And the first point is going to talk about a story that's actually really dear to my heart. I have a family member who passed away from cancer many years ago. When I read this kind of data, it shows to me that the advancements in artificial intelligence have really been quite substantial over the past few years. The key message here is a couple of key points that you see on the screen here. And it talks about a human pathologist. This is a doctor that we would see to that's trained in a university, for example, and how good he is at picking up breast cancer in sort of female patients. And if you have a look at it, they reckon that the average human pathologist has potentially got an accuracy score of about 73%. If we look at the machine learning algorithms that have been processed by universities and learning institutes around the world, they reckon that the accuracy has improved substantially from 73 to 89, but still not good enough if you compare it to Google's AI claims. With Google's computing platform called the Deep Learning Network, they have an accuracy score here of 99%. And that's actually an amazing statistic if you think about the ability to pick up cancer early on in the cycle and use artificial intelligence in such a critical area of healthcare to help improve and pick up cancer very, very quickly and early. And it certainly is a good story that's actually quite dear to my heart. And something I've been quite interested to follow as the research has got better and the data's come out. There's 3 other stories here which are actually quite interesting that I think are quite relevant. And our group company, Dell Technologies, has been involved with these 3 stories pretty much from inception to where we are today. And the first one is about providing clues for missing children. It's actually quite a clever story, this. This is a center for missing children in the United States. And effectively what they're doing is they're combing through vast majority of CCTV footage looking for missing children. And what they've done is they've uploaded pictures of missing children into the system. They're feeding it significant amount of CCTV footage, and they're looking through missing children who potentially have been stopped at a petrol station, for example, and seeing if they can find missing children through this process. And to date, they've been pretty successful with the results thus far. The second area is also an interesting story, and it goes back to our cancer pathology story that we covered in the previous slide. This is a robot in Japan that's now effectively passed what's called the Medical Bar Association in Japan. Effectively, what this means is that this robot has the ability to provide healthcare advice because technically speaking, he's passed the exams associated with being a doctor. I suppose it poses a very interesting ethical question as to what do we do with robots who pass the exams, and do we trust the data from a robot versus a human, and what's the accuracy ratings like? The third point is around farming and farming for the future here. And here's a great story about how Dell Technologies companies applying pesticides and herbicides to very specific areas of plants and plantations to help eliminate the need for mass spraying of herbicides across vegetable areas and gardens. And effectively, if you can target specific areas that need herbicide, use far less herbicide as well. Now, all of these stories are great stories, but in reality, the way AI and artificial intelligence really starts to make sense is in these 3 particular areas. And when we certainly talk to customers, we talk to them about how do you improve operations, how do you enhance the customer experience, or how do we inspire new business offerings? And if we can talk to the customers about these 3 particular areas, this is the kind of stuff where we think customers will benefit or see the benefit faster when applying artificial intelligence technologies and architectures to these 3 particular areas. And the reason why is because ultimately the human-machine partnership has got infinitely better. Humans are great with creativity, humans are great with the ability to think differently, where machines are great at processing volume. Machine's never going to provide you an ethical answer potentially. The human potentially will provide that creativity and ethics, but the human relationship between machines and humans are really where the value is going to start to exponentially explode. And you'll see why in the next few slides. Ultimately, when we speak to CIOs and businesses, they tell us that they do know that artificial intelligence will transform their industry. They also know that some of them haven't even started, and it's vitally important to start on this particular journey. And they also know that when it comes to the C-level people, that a significant amount of investment is going to be put into artificial intelligence systems and the application of the data by way of those three key points that we spoke about on the previous slide. When we look at the potential ability to add to the global market, a McKinsey study that we worked on with them a couple of years back shows us that we think that artificial intelligence could potentially add up to $13 trillion of global economic activity by the year 2030. And in the current market with COVID-19 and most countries going into lockdown, this is a great way to boost economies, certainly ones in South Africa, and apply artificial intelligence technologies to our customers and our business and our people in South Africa. Next up, we're going to cover what I call the keys to success. And there's three keys to success that if you deal with these topics in an easy kind of way, we think you'll be able to deliver the best of what artificial intelligence has to offer. And they are as follows. The fuel of AI is about data. The engines of AI is about supercharged compute. And the drivers of AI are really around algorithms, models, and expertise. And obviously, if you apply your mind into all three areas, this is the secret sauce and recipe of how to deliver AI with value and function into organizations and into South Africa. And what's happened is quite an interesting data point. You'll see here, if you go back to the year roughly in the 1950s, the cost of compute was at a very high value. Today, in the year 2020, the cost of compute is at an all-time low. And interesting to note, if you look at the amount of data we're collecting on, you can see we've really ramped through the roof in the year 2020 with just the sheer amount of data we're collecting, whether it's unstructured data or structured data, whether it's kids' photos, whether it's pathology data, for example. We really are collecting a lot of data today, and all of this really is the reason why artificial intelligence is actually real today and available today, even in a country like South Africa. Now, to put data and artificial intelligence to work, you need a couple of extra things to make this whole thing come together. You obviously need data. We spoke about that on the previous slide, and you can see our metric at the bottom here, going from 1 gigabyte, 1 terabyte, 1 petabyte, or even 1 exabyte or 1 zettabyte. You can see these numbers start to change, as do the zeros on the end of those particular figures. But when we start to look at structured data or unstructured data or unlabeled data, and we start to concurrently process the data at the same time, using a significant amount of the processors and accelerators out there, we have the ability to move from basic analytics to more advanced machine learning to the stuff that deep learning algorithms are thought about. And deep learning algorithms is pretty much how the human brain interacts with itself. It has the ability to look at unlabeled and unstructured data and figure out what's required through multiple training iterations and multiple training inferences that we run in terms of the data. But what's required as well is obviously the throughput to make all this work. You can see the throughput figures on the right-hand side there. We need to move this data through the system at the fastest possible time. We need to think about it, process it, and process it at scale. When you bring those things together, this is truly how we can talk to customers about what's innovative and the application of this innovation technology in South Africa with our customers. The third area to talk to you about is really around Dell Technologies innovation and what we're doing in this particular area. And what I quite like about it is this concept of the edge, the core, and the cloud is ever more relevant, whether we're talking about public hyperscalers, whether we're talking about data, but actually in the artificial intelligence world, the same concept would apply. And the reason why I say that is because the edge is actually where it's happening. The edge is the most important part of this conversation. Because if you think about what's happening at the edge, it's all of these devices. This is telemetry data. Think about what's coming of building management systems. Think about what's coming of automotive devices. Here we have trucks, CCTV, robotics, for example. All of these devices are generating a lot of data. Every second, every hour, significant amount of telemetry data is coming off these particular devices. This is the kind of stuff that's happening at the edge. The Dell value proposition pretty much starts from the edge, moving off to the right-hand side here. And we're talking about aggregating a lot of this data through gateways you see here, doing analytics at the edge, providing insights directly where the data is generated, and truly bringing the compute power closer to the edge where the actual data is generated. After we've generated the data, it's about how we pass that back up the system into the value chain to potentially think about the algorithms and apply that data set to the algorithms. And Dell Technologies has got some great options available in this particular space to help with the key areas of innovation and drive those tasks with customers. And they range from things like compute platforms, right through to storage and across to data mobility. And I'll deep dive into each one as we're going along. The key for us here, and I spoke about the edge locations and these gateways, is that we now are able to offer you powerful accelerated compute devices, even at the edge location. This is the ability to truly process significant amount of data at the edge where it's generated. And it makes a lot of sense because what you don't want is to backhaul all this data through the edge, through the core to the cloud. You want to minimize the amount of data that goes to the cloud and actually start to perform the analytics at the edge. And when we aggregate the edges, we're now looking at real-time data that's important that we could potentially process in the cloud. When you bring in things like compute and analytics at the edge, together with high-performance storage, you can start to see how this stuff is ever more relevant. Dell EMC is one of the leaders in the storage particular platform. We've done storage for many years. It includes data protection. And what you're looking for is a performance platform at the edge, in the core, and in the cloud that allows the data to seamlessly move and provide the data mobility that we spoke about in the previous slide. Now, multi-cloud operations is a huge topic to talk about. And what we want customers to do is not be locked in with a single hyperscaler from a vendor choice point of view. But what we are interested to talk to them about is potentially how do we use multiple clouds to take the best advantages and the best features out of these multiple clouds and deliver this edge core cloud data fabric into multiple clouds through our multi-cloud hybrid cloud solution stack. Hopefully all of that is going to be built on the latest modern technology standards. And this is where we start to introduce things like the software-defined infrastructure. We've truly virtualized the network. We virtualized the compute, and now we're starting to virtualize a lot of the storage that moves between these platforms. And when we start to talk about virtualized software-defined data centers, this is where we can talk about abstraction. It means we don't have to be bound to physical hardware devices. The whole data fabric provides a seamless mobility solution from edge to core to cloud. The data mobility particular piece is an interesting one because ultimately all of this data that's generated is probably in different formats. And our data mobility fabric called Boomi has the ability to translate and help move the data seamlessly and even rationalize the data and normalize the data to get it into a format that systems can read and make it easier to read, easier to build models and apply those models into those three use cases that we spoke about previously. Dell's innovation in action are three additional stories here that I think really are amazing sort of stories. And when I tell these stories to customers, their minds are sort of blown about kind of details and data that certainly Dell Technologies Group company has been involved with. Let me share the first one with you. This first story is from a company called the Computer Science Organization in the US. What we're doing here is we're helping restore the sense of sight to visually impaired or previously blind people. What we're doing here is we're inserting the ability to provide a connection into the back of the retina, and we're actually broadcasting machine-learned images into the back of the retina in real time. And take it for granted what picking up a knife looks like, or what a knife even looked like, what the color red looks like, or even what the sky looks like, for example. Having a machine learning algorithm that can depict what those objects look like and then rebroadcast the image to the back of the retina really is an amazing technology topic and a great way to improve the eyesight of visually impaired people. The second topic is quite an interesting one here. This is a company called Oppo. What they do here is they make very fancy robotics devices. You can see it in the picture over there. These robotics devices pick up boxes in factories and move them around. And where it's used particularly well is in the automotive industry. Think about some of these big German manufacturing sort of businesses that have a build-in-time sort of model. And as they're putting the car together, they need the parts to arrive exactly at the right time. They need to be assembled. Well, these little robots scoot around the floor inside the factory warehouse. They pick up the parts and bring them to where the parts need to be assembled exactly at the right time. What you have is a seamless flowing parts business that enables the ability to build cars without any delay at the lowest cost. and Oppo is using Dell technologies to make all this happen and using our algorithms and our systems to really improve the accuracy and the time it takes to get the robot from the warehouse to the actual factory floor to the parts can be used. The third topic is an interesting one. This is with MasterCard. And here we've been working with MasterCard for many years. We've been providing a platform inside MasterCard that helps them fight fraud. Every time you swipe a credit card transaction, about 1.9 to 2 million calculations are done on every credit card transaction, looking for fraud, looking for tampered data, looking for stolen credit card details, and potentially stopping those transactions in real time so we can help eliminate the amount of fraud and stuff that goes on with MasterCard. It's a great story. It's a public reference for us, and it's a business that we've been working with for many years. And obviously, we've done a lot of improvements with MasterCard, and today's version is even processing the calculations faster than we've ever seen in the past. Where Dell can start to add a lot of value is through our partnerships. And our partnerships extend right across the world. They extend to the partner ecosystem. They extend to the services organization. We have the ability to consult with you on how we can implement this technology. We can provide our data science labs and solution centers in 6 locations around the world. We can put platforms down for you, help you test your algorithms, help you scale the data, help you apply different solution stacks, and potentially consult with you in the automotive industry, in the manufacturing, in the finance, in the retail, etc. With great global relationships, we have the power to bring these global relationships to South Africa's, to customers in South Africa, and our partner ecosystem supports it as well. Thank you again for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's been great to present to you, and have a great day. Cheers, everyone.